The format is normally I wing it.
Conversation. Okay.
I rarely prepare questions.
Okay.
I interviewed a rapper once, and I had to deal with a publicist, and she wanted to see questions ahead of time.
Yeah.
Which kind of ruined the comedic timing of it.
Yeah.
But in general, there's some things that I do most episodes.
Okay.
But yeah,
And this is for which one? Do you have two podcasts, right?
I do have two podcasts. This is for, normally with this podcast, I actually reveal the name partway through because it's somewhat of a silly name.
Okay.
So getting that natural reaction is kind of funny. My other podcast...
I've seen it somewhere, but I forgot about it because I looked it up on my podcast
Oh,
app.
okay, yeah. The other one is basically a podcast for my mom that my mom doesn't listen to because, have you done a lot of podcast interviews?
No, never.
Okay.
But I love podcasts. I listen to so many.
Yeah, well, I kind of annoying, if there's people that I want to follow, if I want to listen to, every Mike Bethel interview, it's kind of difficult to do so.
Yeah.
So I made another podcast feed when I was doing more podcasts about Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah.
So that way I had a way of, here's a feed, and I get permission with, everything I've done.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, because, my mom's not going to go find 30 podcasts and, search like that. So is it cool if we start?
Yeah, just go for it.
What's your name and what's your game?
Cool. So my name's Harry Rose, and I'm working on the upcoming game Off Grid.
Okay, are you making it off grid?
We all mostly work remotely, so a little bit off grid.
But remotely is on the grid.
That's true, actually. I do live in a city, so it's not that. I don't live in a tent in the woods.
Yeah, there's some people in BC, the province I've run in Canada, they've moved in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, those eco dome things.
Yeah, to work on their VR game as an audio designer because they need quiet fields to get ambience and stuff like that.
It's just a quiet field, but just with a very long extension cable all the way to the middle of the field. Or
something. I think they still have internet.
Okay.
So what's how many people are working on that?
Yeah, so we have 3 people full-time. We have a few other people on the team that kind of come on and off. We've got a sound designer. We have someone who does administration and kind of PR for us as well. But there's me, and I'm a full-time programmer. I don't really do any designy bits. I do bits and bobs. I mean, we're a very, very small team, so everyone has to kind of...
And that's 4 people, 6 people?
No, 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So everyone ends up doing bits and bobs, but I'm definitely at my core a programmer. And then we have Rich, who's more design focused, more level design. And we have Pontus, who's a programmer, but also from a web dev background. So he does a lot of the user interface, a lot of the art, but also level design.
That's cool. Do you think having an integrated programmer UI-wise has helped a lot?
Oh man, yeah. He can crack out UIs that look amazing very, very quickly. I'll sometimes when we add a new system, I'll add a temporary, the equivalent of programmer art for a UI, and then when I see his final thing, I wonder how I ever thought that was okay. So yeah, definitely. And I think so many things for in terms of from a web dev background, apply really nicely to kind of UX kind of things, where it's there's kind of rules for how user interfaces should be laid out, and he's definitely well aware of those.
And he's probably not going to do too much extra stuff.
Yeah.
That's normally the problem with game UI is it's too much.
Yeah, I think we've did you? I mean, I guess we only showed videos in the talk, but did you see a little bit of the UI stuff?
Yeah, no, I mean during your when you were showing the menus and stuff like that.
I think
it was clean,
really nice.
and also looked sustainable for expansion.
Yeah,
which is another problem with games. Anything you do, you're probably going to need to do a bunch more if things change.
I think we kind of have a little bit of an unwritten rule of 2 sub-menus at most, and then we've gone too far. If you have to go to a menu and then that opens another menu and then another menu, and it's a kind of Russian doll, that's a bit too many. So I think hopefully it's sustainable.
Well, yeah, I mean that's good. I mean for us on Darkest Dungeon, we have certain team members that kind of fight for different parts of the UI, so it normally ends up being this kind of middle ground.
Yeah.
Which works for us, but it's definitely a lot of battles on should this have a tooltip? How much is in this tooltip?
You've written a full paper on our tooltip. This is too much.
Our tooltip system's kind of nuts. There are better tooltips, but considering the breadth of content that we can throw in a tooltip, it's I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
So you did a talk about modding.
Yeah.
That seemed to be coming from a genuine excitement about doing mod support.
Yeah.
but there was also part of it where you were saying you got some funding to do mod support.
Yeah.
So I was kind of curious, like, what was that process like?
So, to be honest, that process was actually a little bit before I started on the game. But that process, I believe, was through the UK Games Fund, and they funded us to add modding support to the prototype. In terms of the process of getting that funding, I can't really comment. I don't quite know. Yeah. We got a further batch of funding after that, which allowed me to come on full time. So
when you came on, you were like coming on with mod support being.
It was a little bit. It was like we had the what we needed to like kind of hit our funding goals, and then I came in. And then, because I come from a more of a systems background, I came in and I did a lot of refactoring and kind of cleaned it up and made it a bit more kind of sustainable for building upon. So yeah, we had a little bit of a grounding by the point that I started on it.
Okay, and do you have like, I mean, maybe you don't know this, but do you have like kind of funding deliverables about that mod support? Like how involved are they into like...
I'm not sure. My colleague deals a lot of funding stuff. He kind of shields me away from a lot of the business elements of it.
Yeah.
So I can just focus on programming.
You're doing the most possible mod support.
Oh yeah. I mean, we definitely want to try and be as transparent as possible. We really kind of want to expose everything we can in Lua, basically. So we have lots of stuff. We have kind of like the user, the player has like an AR glasses. That's kind of how they see the world, and this has like a little app wheel. So you can add those apps and they're in Lua, and the reaction to being triggered is in Lua, where you put the icons in Lua, so people can make their own. So literally anything that we can put in Lua, we have. So yeah, definitely trying to be as open as we possibly can.
Cool. One thing I did notice about one of your slides specifically during your talk about mod support, where there was kind of like a function that was called when like a level was created. And there was something where like you were kind of clearing the player and then like adding the mission to the player, and it seemed like something where like this seems like something you're going to have to kind of do all the time.
Yeah.
Because and I was just kind of curious like how you plan on like expressing that to people of like guidelines.
As in a case of there's something that you have to do, otherwise nothing will work, and how do we make that clear?
And where do you make the choice of like, oh, is this something I can move out of the mod support?
Yeah.
Like theoretically make it less flexible, but people are going to like, we're not doing carryover items, that's chaotic.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, at the moment you have to always add to the player. That's something that I guess we could make the assumption that there's always going to be a player. Actually, I don't think the game would run very well if you didn't add the player and then tried to run it. I think it would freak out a bit. I guess the reason we've left that in there at the moment is that we want the ability in the future to support adding different playable characters. It's something that we're still kind of working out how we're going to develop. And one thing we'd really love, and this is no promise that this will happen, is the ability for users to make their own models for characters so they could mod themselves in and tell their own story about themselves. So I guess that's kind of why we've left that in. If we kind of just did it for them, it kind of removes some of that flexibility. I guess really it's one of the questions in the talk, which was very, very on point, was how do you handle the fact that people can completely break your game in modding? And that is always something you have to take into account, and you have to provide very, very intuitive and easy to understand error messages at every single point you possibly can. And I guess that kind of just comes into that of, if they haven't added a player, we just have to throw up a big warning saying, you've done this wrong, like, please fix it.
Well, also those error messages, like the more you can make, the better support you can give. Also for development, like a lot of our how do I hook stuff up is kind of automated. Like error messages, like the audio team sees error messages and they'll make those sounds.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not just for modders, they're for us too. It's very easy to say like, oh, well, we'll kind of make it so that modders can validate what's wrong with the mission. But it totally, before I made this tool that I talked about in the talk, which allows users to like validate their missions, before I did that, things caught me out that were really simple, like all the time, in systems that I'd written. So definitely, it's a boon to everyone involved.
And are you considering supporting mod at launch?
Yes, definitely. Modding, absolutely at launch. Whatever we launch in, it will have mods. Consoles, if we do consoles, which is up in the air, no promises. We have to see how we can go. I don't believe that consoles will support mods, but one thing we want to potentially try and support is the ability to do downloadable content, and if modders are interested in doing so, we might be able to package up their mods into some kind of downloadable content. That
or
might
allow
go towards like a
people
charity bundle or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm really interested in. So just because users on consoles wouldn't be able to support mods doesn't mean they won't be able to potentially play some really cool ones. But yeah, mods absolutely definitely launch. It's like a key feature of the game. Yeah.
Cool. So thanks for being on the Question Bus.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to plug?
No, it's www.offgridthegame.com, and I'm Harry Rose on Twitter, at Harry Rose, the O is a 0. That's it. And the game's Offgrid the Game on Twitter too.
Okay, just Twitter, no Instagram?
I think we have Instagram, we have Tumblr, we have Facebook. We kind of have the whole shebang, but I think if you go to the website, the links for all those kind of media pages will be there. And we have a really active dev blog, so once a month we'll do a big sprint review. So if you're interested, then yeah, check it out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.